What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and there's been a lot of DC news coming out over the past couple days. Nothing really big enough to make a whole video about, but still a decent amount of stuff. So I wanted to make a whole video about all of it, get it out there to you guys. As a lot of you know, I'm a huge DC fan, and I want the DCEU to be so good, and I kind of have worries about maybe where it's going. But we'll talk about a couple different things, some really cool things, some things that I'm like, I don't know about. In this video. But first thing, let's start with something that happened very recently. Fanboys Ryder wants to make a sequel focused on the Snyder Cut of Justice League. And I think a lot of you know where I stand on the Snyder Cut and how excited I would be for that to happen. But for those of you who don't know, Fanboys came out probably about 10 years ago, and it was a story about a group of friends that wanted to steal Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, from Lucasfilm, basically, before it was released. And there's a bunch of geek and nerd references in there. It's a really funny movie, but it revolves around one of their friends has cancer and doesn't know if he's going to be able to live to see the movie. But it's really good. Really like stands out there for geeks and nerds and fans of the prequels and stuff like that. Just gives you that feeling of the ramp up to Episode 1 release. So it's not some cinematic masterpiece, but it's something that holds like place in a lot of people's hearts. So this right here, rumor, Adam F. Goldberg may develop a sequel to 2009's Fanboys. The sequel would follow the gang as they attempt to steal the forbidden Snyder Cut of Justice League. Now, this is a parody account we've seen a lot of lately. This is completely a lie. But Adam F. Goldberg responds and says, if Ernie Klein's up for it, I sure am. So that got him thinking a little bit. An article got written after someone saw that tweet and was like, wow, he's actually up for it. He responds to that, well done for spotting my tweet. I'm meeting it with director Kyle Newman this week to discuss Fanboys 2. And randomly, Dan Folger emailed me last month telling me he wants to get the gang back together too. I'll on it. I'll own it. I'm on it. Maybe I'm on it. So if that actually happened, I don't know if the whole gang would get back together. I don't know if they get Kristen Bell on board for something like that. But the fact that it's even rumored that it isn't happening, I think would be so freaking cool. Because there are a lot of passionate fans out there like me that would want to see a movie like that. Now, speaking of the Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder, we won't spend too much time on this, of course, has released another picture confirming another character right here from the Snyder Cut, Ryan Choi. So Ryan Choi, the Atom, did appear in Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. So just another little piece out there to the puzzle to put together for those of us who want to see Zack Snyder's vision. Speaking of that, I talked about it when it happened on Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Ezra Miller crossover when he appeared with Grant Gustin's Flash. So two Barry Allens in one space, and evidently that is where Ezra Miller got the idea for the name The Flash. A cool little moment for DC fans to see this TV show that a lot of people have been following for so long, and the on-screen or the movie representation of The Flash and Ezra Miller come together. But what could it mean for the future? Does that mean that is this moment in Crisis, is that something that's going to kick off Flashpoint? Is it going to be discussed in the Flashpoint movie that's upcoming? He mentioned, Vic, is Cyborg, do you have a lot of people talking now, is Cyborg going to be a part of the Flashpoint movie? A lot of possibilities, and it's still in the works. I don't think it's supposed to be released till 2022. So obviously there's a lot for them still to build, but the fact that they wanted to do this, that Warner Brothers wanted this crossover to happen, I think means something, and I think is really interesting. And it's hopefully it's more than just they wanted to get people's attention for a couple hours one night on Crisis. Hopefully it does mean something for the interconnectivity of the DCEU as a whole. But the soonest the most recent new entry in the DCEU will be Birds of Prey. And I think that there's some people that are really excited about this. There's other people like me who don't have too much interest in this movie. Maybe it's the way it's been marketed. I think the fight scenes will be awesome, but I just don't know how invested I am in this Birds of Prey movie. And looking at these opening numbers, $52 million projected right now, anywhere between 49 and 53. That would make it the lowest opening in the DCEU history, just below Shazam. And although Shazam, there's a lot of positivity out there about Shazam. It wasn't some huge moneymaker. I think it grossed around $350 million worldwide, right in that region. So although it was well received, didn't make a whole lot of money for the studio. Lower budget though, so good for them. You do need these to kind of keep the story going and keep it alive. But you can see here that you have this, the way this is being written by this person is really defending Birds of Prey, saying, well, it's really people are really interested in the young adult demographic. But if it's projecting a $52 million opening, there's nothing else opening in February. No other major franchise releases in February. Birds of Prey will have it all to itself. So if it does only do that, I do think that's a huge disappointment for them personally. And, you know, you have him saying, anyone griping that this movie is not at the level of Suicide Squad's opening has to remember that it's a spin-off. It's also early in the campaign. Well, it's only a couple weeks away, really, at this point. We're talking about February, we're at the end of January now. So the ramp up for this film does really need to start. And it's important here, you can see that they are reporting about a $100 million budget, which is pretty much exactly the same as Shazam. So if they get the same return they got off Shazam, maybe that will be, maybe that'll be enough for them to, write it home as a win. Right here you have Shazam, $364 million worldwide on a $100 million budget. That's not making a ton of money, but it's not a loss or anything like that either. So keeps them going. But that's Birds of Prey. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't like the way it's marketed. I don't want a whole movie about Harley Quinn. I really wish we got Gotham City Sirens that was in the works. But Birds of Prey is what we're getting. I don't like how a lot of these characters, the way they've made them look. I'm not buying the storyline, but I will give it a chance, so I will be there to see it when it opens. Some other stuff coming in the future. It looks like there's a Justice League Dark movie in the works to be made by our favorite Bad Robot, J.J. Abrams production company. They're right now in talks to develop Justice League Dark, which was originally supposed to come out a while ago, but kind of fell through. Now, Justice League Dark are some unique stories. I don't think that a Justice League Dark movie makes a ton of sense without the establishment of any of the characters in any other things, personally. So maybe they'll try to introduce them in TV shows and bring them into Justice League Dark. I don't know. However, just making a movie called Justice League Dark, I think you'll have a lot of people confused and they're not quite going to understand what's going on. At least if you're talking about maybe the not as hardcore fans, the normies. You know, are they going to realize what Justice League Dark is? That'd be my question. Very early in development. I don't like the fact that J.J. Abrams is coming into DC, to Warner Brothers, to run the DCEU. But I guess that's something to complain about when it really actually happens and we really start seeing anything from J.J. Abrams. Now, we talked about Suicide Squad. And David Ayer, the director of the Suicide Squad movie, we know that Warner Brothers really messed with the production of that. Not to the same level they messed with the Snyder Cut, but with Suicide Squad, it was a very different movie than what David Ayer originally filmed. Now, the villains, or the bad guys, just these random blobs of people that people really complained about, they didn't really make any sense. Originally, they were supposed to be parademons. They were supposed to be parademons to connect all into the DCEU. This is a mock-up of the parademon head that was 3D printed. There you go. And you see David Ayer. So parademons were reassimilated people, which would have been consistent with Zack Snyder's Justice League, where I guess the anti-life equation has something to do with changing their will. David Ayer says, yes, it was just like in the comics. So more information about how exactly the Suicide Squad movie was very much changed and altered, like the Snyder Cut from David Ayer. Now this one is very much a rumor that I do not believe to be true. At least I hope that it's not. Again, about this Flashpoint movie, I probably should have talked about this a little bit ago, but this is from a random post on Reddit, but it did make the rounds a couple days ago with people talking about it. Rumor at Jessica Chastain in talks to play gender-swapped Reverse Flash in The Flash, meaning the Flashpoint movie that they're going to do. Director Andy Muschietti spilled the beans on his Flash movie. We'll cover Flashpoint, confirming years of speculation. That being the case, you can't have Flashpoint without Reverse Flash. Pretty true. But Muschietti and his writer, Christina Hodson, may have a twist up their sleeve that alters more than a timeline. According to a breaking Reddit scoop, which to be fair is unverified, very unverified, Reverse Flash will be gender swapped to accommodate Chapter 2 star Jessica Chastain. Now, it's not too much information about it, other than saying that it was Hodson's idea, the writer, Christina Hodson. But I would be really surprised if they actually do this. Eobard Thawne and Reverse Flash is such a... it is such a unique story, and one of my absolute favorites from the DC universe, the Flashpoint story. And it works really well, Flashpoint Paradox in animated. It did not work so well when they tried to tell a bastardized version of it in on the Flash CW show. However, if they do it right for Ezra Miller, I do think it could be a great movie. I don't think a great way to start that is trying to gender swap one of the great villains from that. Why would you need to do that? I don't really understand it. It doesn't make any sense. But that is kind of the world we live in right now in Hollywood. So if it did happen, I guess it wouldn't shock me. But I don't think these rumors are true. I just think it's someone's trying to stir something up. But if you see it anywhere, it won't be the first time you've heard of it. But you see some of this art of Reverse Flash, such an iconic character and villain. If you know anything about Flash, you probably know that there is a Reverse Flash, at least. And he's very, very important to the Flashpoint story. But that's pretty much it for random little tidbits I saw here and there, and I wanted to make something because I haven't made a real DC video in a while. But I just feel like the direction of Warner Brothers going forward is very uncertain, and J.J. Abrams now coming in to helm this thing doesn't really make me any more excited for it, to be honest. We did hear a little bit of rumor about Jim Lee potentially being the guy to take over the DC movie as far as, kind of like that Kevin Feige role in the MCU. Now, if that did happen, I could see some positivity that way. I don't know exactly how Jim Lee would do as far as helming a whole series of movies creatively, but I do know I love the guy as an artist. He has a great appreciation for the lore. He obviously knows it so well. A guy who replaced Jeff Johns a couple years ago, who's the the DC Entertainment president, whatever it is, next to Dan Didio. So if he were the guy, I could see some positivity moving forward with that for sure, but we'll see if that's actually a thing or if it's just talk right now. There are things that I'm really looking forward to. Wonder Woman 84 is coming out soon. I hope that we can recapture that same magic we had in Wonder Woman. We know Aquaman 2 is in the works. I didn't think Aquaman was a great movie, but I thought it was a fun movie. And obviously, the biggest thing for me would be if we get an announcement about a possible Snyder Cut release on HBO Max. It would be incredible. I wouldn't even care what else they messed up from here on out, for a while at least. I would be so happy with just being able to see that film. But that's me. What did you guys think about all these different stories we talked about? On a Fanboys Release the Snyder Cut movie would be freaking awesome. But what do you guys think about these stories we talked about? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video out there, release the Snyder Cut. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone. And a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.